Welcome back. Time for something a bit more German today. I have these two Summar lenses, so they are pre-World War II lenses that I have to service. They are from a client, and I already kind of did this one, so today I will be going through the steps with the other one. One of the issues with these lenses is the fact that the coatings of the actual lenses are extremely weak, and also the front element is very prone to scratching, and unfortunately both lenses have a very scratched front element. They are superficial scratches, but plenty of them. The other issue is that the greases used inside the lens gassed out and fogged the inner elements. As far as I know, trying to clean those inner elements most likely will lead to the loss of the coatings, but as they are right now, they're kind of useless. So I have permission to go ahead and clean them as I see fit. We'll see what happens and we'll move on. The interesting part is that this lens is missing the aperture blades, so there is nothing inside. The control ring is here, but the aperture blades are not. And because the optics on this one is actually in a much better condition than the optics in this one, I think I will try to swap the optics. So these lenses will go here, and the lenses that were here, which currently reside under this little piece of paper, will go here. And I will try not to mess with the aperture blades, because I think putting them back is extremely tricky, and you'll see in just a moment why. Alright, so in order to actually remove the optics and get to the aperture blades, now I don't want to get to the actual aperture blades, but I do want to remove this ring, so the aperture ring, because it is quite stiff and it's not moving in a linear fashion. It has lots of hiccups, let's say. So in order to remove this ring, I need to take out at least the front optics. In order to do that, you simply unscrew this ring. Now, when doing so, I already unscrewed it, so it's coming out easily. You might need to grip the barrel with something that allows you to keep it steady. I used my friction gloves to do that. And this is the front part of the optics that can also split in half. So by twisting like this, the two halves will separate. With one mention, you see a little gap here, a little dimple, and there is a little screw here. Now in this case, the screw is too short, so it will not engage in that dimple. Actually, I'm going to try to see if it can go any deeper than that. Oh no, actually it does go a little bit deeper. So basically, in order to separate the halves, you need to unscrew this little front screw, and then you can separate them. You can expect them to be quite tight, so something like those friction gloves or some rubber bands can help. This one is pretty okay, so this surface is not so it's not in a bad shape. This surface is full of scratches. I will clean it as far as I can, and that will be that. This one, on the other hand, has a lot of oil vapors on its surface, and you can only see it with a loop from a certain angle. On the other side, yeah, on the other side as well. Okay, so I will try to use IPA, isopropanol, to clean the lenses as good as I can, and that will be that. Now, if you look at the blades, let me, all right. If you look at the blades, they don't close in a normal fashion. They form like a dome shape hemisphere or something. And looking from here, it looks like there are a lot of blades. But in fact, as far as I know, there are only 6. I don't really know what kind of wizardry this is. I'm really not good, or not that good with lenses, at least not so far. But yeah, I will try to kind of keep them in place. Otherwise, I don't even know how I'm going to put them back. Anyhow, I need to take the rear element off as well, and the rear element is kept in place by a retainer ring. Actually, I think the retainer ring is part of the rear lens elements. So in order to get there, I need to remove this. So this locking ring on the bottom. All right. And in order to do that, I will have to remove this little screw, and then this should unscrew. And I will also make a little mark with a permanent marker where the screw goes, so when I'm putting it back I can align the hole with the dimple in this ring a bit more easily. Obviously you will need very fine screwdrivers for this. And friction glove number 1, and I will probably need friction glove number 2 as well. It worked on the other one, so hopefully it will work on this one also. And it does. Okay, so this is that ring, and now I have access to those 2 spanner slots needed to actually unscrew this part of the lens. It's quite tight. The other one was rather loose, and I actually didn't even need the wrench. This part is a bit nerve-wracking because if the spanner slips, you might be in trouble. it's not moving. Let me see if I can. The bottom part of the optics looks quite clean, and I don't really see any mess on this element. Or do I? No, it does have some vapor, so I will need to take it out. Maybe it will be easier to take out once this is out. So the moment you take this off, the barrel simply can be pulled out. Okay, so now I have a better grip, and hopefully all right, success. Whew. Okay, so no loose elements here. You can just turn it over or use a lens sucker and take the optics off. And now I can take another look. The rear element is surprisingly nice. It has no scratches. And this side is indeed full of vapors. So it has a very fine, like coating-like layer of oils. All right, so this is the optics. I will get to it in a bit of time, but before that, let's focus on this part. All right, I don't need to mess with these two screws, or three even. You can adjust the position of this in relation to this. So if in the end these markings are not aligned with, I think, this line that show you how to turn the lens and lock it, then you can unscrew those three screws, rotate this part of the barrel and screw them back. I think I didn't do that, so it's just a supposition. Okay, this inner felt has turned into something very shiny after all those years. What I did on the other one, and seemed to have worked, is simply cleaning the entire felt strip with a cotton bud and lighter fluid. It seems to have worked. It dampens the movement better, so I will try to do that on this one as well. All right, now in order to take the focusing mechanism apart, which in this case is quite all right, but on this one is better, we will need to first remove these three screws. So this rear part, the one with the little stopper thing for the focusing knob, is actually the lens mount. Okay, so this part mounts on your camera. Removing these three screws allows you to actually lift it. Unlike an Elmar lens or the Soviet Industars, the collapsible ones, when you are focusing the lens, the barrel doesn't turn, right? So see, you are focusing the lens, the barrel stays still, which is super nice because your aperture markings will always be oriented correctly. In order to do this, you need something that keeps the barrel from turning, and that something is beneath this. All right. So 3 screws that are quite tight. So you need a good screwdriver and a lot of downward pressure in order to not strip them. And now this turns freely. So it locks here at infinity, but it can unscrew completely. And you need to see or remember at what point it will unscrew. And most likely it will unscrew when the infinity mark here aligns with the 2 mark here. Let's see. Spot on, German precision. And this is what you find inside. So a lot of grime and old lubricant that it was still doing its job pretty decently. All right, those 3 screws should engage in these 3 holes. And this ring is what actually keeps the barrel from turning. Okay, in order to take the ring out, you need to remove this. So this outer cap needs to be removed. It's screwed on, so back to the gloves. And hopefully I don't really have much grip because it's so small. Okay, in this case I will put this one back, so the 2 marking aligns with the infinity, and now it should screw all the way back. And the 3 holes are now aligned, and I'll put back just the screws. Now, right now, that ring with the holes is sitting too far in front, so the screws won't engage. In order to move this part all the way back, I would need to focus it to infinity without losing the meshing between the holes here and the threaded holes in that ring. So I'm going to use a probe, stick it in. I hope this works, and now focus to infinity, and now they are still aligned, but the ring is closer to this one, so hopefully the screws will engage. They don't need to be tightened very hard, because you just need them to keep the ring in place. Okay, now I have just a bit more leverage, hopefully. And there it goes. Now, this ring has two cutouts, one here, one here. So in theory, you can use a spanner wrench to open it up, but the cutouts are quite large for this spanner. So it will most likely lose the grip and scratch the ring. You can either make a custom tool, so maybe a fixed width tool that has the prongs shaped like this, so they grip really well into cutouts. I prefer this method. So far I have 2 out of 2, so it works. And this is the ring that was kept in position by those 3 little screws. Now, before going ahead, be very careful with this, because it is very thin and it will deform super easily, and this is actually threaded, so if you deform it, you might not be able to get this one back here, so very careful. Okay, now to move on, this one rotates freely here and is part of the focusing mechanism. In order to get it out and clean it, now this one moves quite nicely, but still it should be even better. To get it out, you need to unscrew this little retainer. So it has a little brass retainer here, this one, that you need to remove. Now this one is quite tricky to remove because you can't grip the outer portion of this. So the only sturdy part is actually this one, the part with the knob. In the other case, I used another spanner, unfortunately a pointed spanner, but let me see. Does the slot? No. So the slot does not go all the way through, because the outer shinier more golden like part that you see here is not part of the actual retainer. So the retainer is this darker colored one. So the slot for the spanner is only this big. Okay, so I don't have any tips for the spanner that are so narrow, and because of that reason I had to rely on the pointed tips. And this is a tough one to remove. I think I used some naphtha on the other one. Well, it turns a lot easier now. And there it goes. Now I will turn it little by little, always keeping the counter force on the focusing knob, and then turn it around and start over until it's loose enough to simply unscrew it with a toothpick or something. Let's see, does it work? Not really. Does this work? Not really. Okay. This is the little retainer, and this is the ring that spins inside. That's all greasy. Okay, and basically that's it. This is the entire focusing mechanism, so it's quite simple. Everything is super nicely machined, everything fits perfectly. Well, it's a Leitz lens after all. I will clean everything here, and no, I will take out the aperture ring first, so I can clean everything in one go. Alright, so the aperture ring has two screws. Those screws go all the way inside this control ring, so when you turn it, the ring controls the aperture blades and open and close. Now hopefully the reason why this turns so nasty or nastily is the grease that was applied between the ring and the barrel, hopefully. And the whole idea is for me to take out the ring and then take the barrel, put it somewhere safe, and do not touch it until I put the ring back. Okay, so I'm going to... No, I'm not going to make any kind of marks. All the numbers must align somewhere in this region, in the region of the line. So that will be my landmark. This is one screw. This is the other screw. Now the aperture ring just lifts off. And probably here there's a lot of dirt. Now, very important, not to drop it, not to turn it around, because the control ring will fall and then the aperture blades will fall. I just keep my the things I do for my curiosity. I was curious to see how the blades look like on the other side. They are probably blades that have a V shape to them, otherwise they wouldn't form a sphere. I have no idea. And I will leave the aperture open because I think it's safer that way. Alright, so first of all I will need to clean the outside. Alright. And now I can clean this ring and put it back before I do something stupid. Okay, nice and clean. And it goes like this. Very nice. Okay, now because this is a clickless design, you don't want your aperture to drift off or anything, or change the setting when you barely touch it. So my preference is to use a heavy grease. This is a Teflon telescope grease used for telescope mounts or something, and it's quite thick, so it will dampen the movement nicely. Alright, and I'm going to apply it to I would say to the barrel. Yeah, I'm going to apply it to the barrel. Alright, and now I need to put this back. Very nice. And align the markings on the ring with the arrows on the barrel, something like this. And now I'm going to need to find to match the holes in the ring. One hole is here with the holes in the actual control ring. One hole is there, one hole is here. So now hopefully this one goes all the way through. Alright, so I know I'm in the correct position, and I can put back the two little fixation screws or transfixation that will ensure that the blades stay in their spot. That is one. And that is the second. And now the aperture values are within this region. The motion is dampened, so it will stay where you put it, and only very slightly move if you rub your finger against the ring. Alright, any excess lubricant you can wipe off from the sides. So this is one side. Not much there. And this is the other side. Alright, that part is done. Now I'm going to clean everything up, all these little bits and pieces. Then I'm going to clean the optics. Well, actually, the optics is already cleaned because it's the other optics. So I suppose I could simply put it back, but I'll do that after I'm done with the cleaning, when I will use fresh gloves. And yeah, I'll see you back in a GP with the reassembly phase. It's quite straightforward, but yeah, it's part of the video.